Everyone that is following along with my story, thank you for following along and listening to my story. It has been 24 years that my parents has been murdered here in Florida, and it was all over the news. I linked it on my bio if you want to connect with me more. And you know what? I've never really got to talk about it, so I have decided I want to talk about it. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, my parents passed away. I never got a shoulder from my brothers. That's the only thing I had is two brothers. Shoulder from them to lean on and cry on. And they just always had their girlfriends. I just never got to cry with them. I cried with strangers. Like, it was so taboo just to talk about even the incidents I'm gonna talk about with you guys. I'm gonna talk about it. But like, just to talk about parents' death was bad. I remember talking to a mutual friend once about the death of our parents, and Mother's Day was approaching, and I was missing my mom, naturally. So I couldn't talk to anyone. I talked to her about it, and I guess my brother found out later that I talked to her about it, and I got in trouble. I got in trouble for that conversation. He said I was seeking attention. I was seeking attention. That is why I was talking about it. I mean, that affected me so much along the way because I worked at a job for 10 years, you guys, and I have never talked about the death of my parents to anyone. Why? Because that affected me. I didn't want to seem like I was seeking attention. So I never really talked about it to anyone because of that. Meanwhile, he was talking about it, and my other brother, they were all talking about it with their friends, but I was not allowed to talk about it for some reason. Let's pause. Hold on. I have decided if I'm gonna influence you, raise 3 kids, and be a single mom, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the taboo things because the society has made me feel shame for it. My brothers made me feel shameful for it. Like, it was my fault. Like, I wanted this. I was only 12. Can you imagine? We're gonna talk about this particular day that my parents were murdered. That particular day, on what happened to me that day. It was a good day. It was a regular day. As you guys know, my dad worked very hard and he purchased a little business, and we were all working very hard. Some days we were also sleeping there. This incident also happened in Ramadan. And it was a regular day, it was a good day. My dad was resting. My mom got us ready in the morning to go to school. It was me, my mom, my dad, and one of my brothers, because my other brother was in the Marines. I used to sleep with my parents, and my other brother used to sleep in the living room, and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And the murderer, the guy that did this, he was also living there too. All his stuff was there in our house in the living room. Okay, let's focus on this. That particular day, I carpooled with the neighbors because we do that. Sometimes the neighbor's kid, my dad will drop us off, or sometimes I would car ride with them. That day, I car rode. And, you know, I had soccer that day. I never called my mom from school, but that particular day, I could not stop. My teacher's name was Miss Emery. I kept asking Miss Emery to let me call my mom. I don't know why. I kept calling my mom. It rung, I think around 8. And then it was just busy. It was just busy. I couldn't understand why. I was like, who is she talking to? So I just remembered being in a school bus around 2-3 o'clock. And I remember the police coming, pulling me off of the bus, and taking me to the police station where I met my middle brother. And I couldn't understand. They told me something bad happened to the parents, and I thought they were in the hospital. I didn't understand what was going on. The next thing I remember is that we were in that house, my dad's best friend's house, and everybody was grieving. My middle brother, was with his girlfriend in a room crying, and I was crying with strangers. And then the next thing I remember is my brother leaving with that girl to mom and dad's apartment. They went and slept there and left me in that house with my dad and his family. My dad's best friend's family. He had one son, a wife, and him. There was three of them, and they left me with them. And I didn't know who to talk to because this incident happened while my parents were alive too. And okay, so I remember laying there, couldn't go to sleep obviously. I was laying there with his wife, and I remember being essayed that night. That night my parents passed away. And I lived with that family for 1 year. And all my life I held it in because it was very shameful to talk about it. Like it was my fault. Like I did something. That's how it was made by my brothers. My brother, older brother, even went back to that house and made amends and basically called me a liar. My other brother held a gun in my face. Basically, I was the bad one. According to them, it was like my fault. I did something wrong.